to Vicky Whispers, your sanctuary for quiet evenings and restful nights. Here, our bedtime stories and sleep stories are designed to help you unwind, find calm, and drift gently into deep sleep. Tonight, let this be your refuge, a moment just for you to embrace peace and prepare for the best sleep time. Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable. Lie back in your bed, rest in your favorite chair, or wrap yourself in a cozy blanket. Feel the surface beneath you, supporting every part of your body, cradling you in softness. Adjust yourself until you feel perfectly at ease, like the world is holding you gently in its embrace. Now, let's take a deep breath together. Inhale slowly through your nose, filling your lungs with calm, soothing air. Hold it softly for a moment, and then exhale through your mouth, releasing the weight of the day. With each breath, feel your body relax a little more. Your shoulders releasing, your jaw softening, and your hands resting lightly. Close your eyes, or let them rest softly, unfocused and calm. Imagine yourself in a peaceful place, a quiet meadow under a sky full of stars, or a tranquil garden where the air is warm and still. Let this image fill your mind, replacing any lingering thoughts with stillness and serenity. With every breath, you are letting go. The day is behind you, its busyness and noise fading into the distance. This is your time to unwind, to feel your mind quieting and your body softening as you prepare to get sleepy, naturally and effortlessly. Let my voice guide you tonight as we journey into a soothing story together. Each word will carry you further into comfort, like a gentle breeze brushing across your skin, soft and calming. This is your moment to relax, to welcome sleep, and to allow yourself to drift away into the peaceful rhythm of the night. Take another deep breath in and release. Feel your body becoming lighter, as though every worry and care is melting away with the exhale. You are exactly where you need to be, safe, calm, and ready to welcome the best sleep time. As tonight's bedtime story unfolds, let the words lull you like a soft lullaby, guiding you to a place of quiet and rest. You are here, you are ready, and there is nothing more to do except let go. Now, let yourself surrender completely to the night. This is your moment to relax, to unwind, and to drift into the comforting embrace of deep sleep. Let's begin. The 7 Ravens by Grimm Brothers, modified and read by Viktor Hejna. There was once a man who longed to have a daughter. For years, he and his wife tried to grow their family, but fate only granted them sons, 7 in total. Though the man loved his boys, there was always a yearning for a little girl to brighten their lives and bring a sense of balance to their home. The mother, too, often dreamed of combing her daughter's hair or teaching her to sew. But as the years passed, it seemed as if the dream of a daughter might never come true. Then, miraculously, the wife gave birth to a baby girl. The parents were overjoyed beyond measure, but their happiness was tinged with fear, for the child was frail and small, her tiny chest rising and falling with shallow, uneven breaths. The local midwife advised them to have the baby baptized immediately, for she might not survive long. In his urgency to save his daughter's soul, the father called to his sons, instructing them to fetch water from the spring for the baptism. He handed a large jug to the eldest boy, who was just old enough to be trusted with such an important task. The 6 younger brothers eagerly followed, each determined to help. Though they set out with the best of intentions, their youthful enthusiasm soon turned to chaos. Each brother wanted to be the one to fill the jug, and in the scuffle it slipped from their grasp and tumbled into the spring's deep, clear waters. The boys stared at the rippling surface in dismay, unsure of what to do. The eldest tried to reach for the jug with a long stick, but it was too far out. None of them dared to go home empty-handed, knowing their father's temper could be fierce. Fear paralyzed them as the minutes stretched into an hour, and still they stood by the spring, unable to resolve their predicament. Meanwhile, at home, the father's patience began to fray. The baby's fragile cries echoed through the small house, a stark reminder of the urgency of the situation. As time passed, his worry for his daughter's life turned into frustration. He muttered angrily to himself, imagining the boys shrinking their duty, perhaps distracted by games or idle chatter. His anger reached a boiling point, and in a moment of irritational fury, he cursed aloud, wishing his sons would turn into ravens if they could not carry out a simple task. The moment the words left his lips, a chill settled over the house. Outside, the air stirred, and the father looked up just in time to see a shadow pass over the roof. 7 coal-black ravens soared into the sky, their wings cutting through the air with a mournful sound. The man's anger vanished instantly, replaced by a sinking dread. He realized, too late, the weight of his reckless words. He had cursed his own children. The mother, hearing his anguished cries, rushed outside to see what had happened. Together they watched the flock of ravens disappear into the horizon, their forms shrinking into specks of black against the golden light of the setting sun. There was no way to undo what had been done. The parents mourned their sons bitterly, though they found some solace in their daughter, who began to grow stronger with each passing day. The years went by, and the little girl blossomed into a radiant young woman. Her laughter filled the house, and her presence brought joy to all who knew her. Yet an unspoken sorrow lingered in the household. The parents never spoke of the 7 boys who had once played in the yard or sat around the hearth. Their daughter, unaware of the tragedy that shadowed her birth, lived blissfully ignorant of her brother's existence. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves. One day, while walking through the village, a young woman overheard a group of women gossiping by the well. One of them remarked on her beauty, while another whispered that she was the reason her 7 brothers had vanished. Though their words were hushed, the girl heard enough to leave her deeply troubled. The thought that her life might have come at the cost of her brothers filled her with guilt. That evening, she confronted her parents, demanding to know the truth. With heavy hearts, they told her the story of her brothers and the terrible curse that had transformed them into ravens. Though they tried to reassure her that it was not her fault, she could not shake the burden of guilt. Her brothers had been lost because of her, and she resolved to do whatever it took to bring them back. From that day forward, the young woman's heart was set on a single goal: to find her brothers and free them from their curse. She knew it would not be an easy journey, but she could not rest until he had tried. Early one morning, while her parents still slept, she packed a small bag with the essentials: a loaf of bread to stave off hunger, a pitcher of water to quench her thirst, a small wooden ring her mother had given her as a token of love, and a tiny folding stool so she could rest when weary. Her journey took her beyond the familiar fields and forests of her home into wild and untamed lands she had only heard of in stories. She walked for days, her resolve unshaken despite the hardships she faced. The bread and water she had brought with her ran out quickly, forcing her to rely on the generosity of strangers and the bounty of the land. She foraged berries in the woods and drank from streams, her determination carrying her through even the most desolate stretches of her journey. Eventually, she reached the edge of the world, where the sun rose each morning in a blaze of golden fire. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, for the sun's heat was fierce, and its glare seemed to pierce her very soul. She approached cautiously, shielding her eyes as she tried to speak to the mighty celestial body. But the sun paid her no heed, its fiery rays so intense that she had to retreat before she was scorched. Disheartened, but undeterred, she continued her journey and soon came to the moon. The moon's pale light bathed the land in an eerie glow, and the chill in the air was bone deep. The moon was not kind, and its cold, impassive face filled her with unease. It seemed to mock her efforts, whispering threats that sent shivers down her spine. Once again, she was forced to move on, her hope dwindling with each step. Her path eventually led her to the stars, which twinkled like tiny beacons in the endless night sky. Unlike the sun and moon, the stars were gentle and welcoming. They listened to her story with sympathy, their light guiding her forward when all seemed lost. The morning star, the brightest and most radiant of them all, took pity on her and gifted her a small token, the drumstick of a chicken. Though the object seemed ordinary, the morning star explained its importance. It was the key to unlock the glass mountain where her brothers were imprisoned. Grateful for their help, the young woman wrapped the drumstick carefully in a piece of cloth and set off towards the glass mountain. She walked for many more days, her feet sore and her body weary, but the thought of her brothers spurred her on. When she finally reached the mountain, its surface gleamed like crystal, reflecting the world around it in dazzling clarity. The sight was both beautiful and intimidating, but she approached the entrance with determination. Reaching into her bag, she unwrapped the cloth containing the drumstick, only to find it empty. Panic gripped her as she searched frantically for the missing key. Without it, she had no way to enter the mountain and rescue her brothers. But she refused to give up. Driven by desperation, she took a small knife from her bag and cut off one of her fingers, pressing it into the lock. To her relief, the door creaked open and she stepped inside, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Inside the glass mountain, an eerie light bathed the walls, refracted through the crystalline walls. The air was cool and still, the silence broken only by the soft echo of her footsteps. Suddenly, a diminutive figure appeared, a dwarf with eyes like polished gems and a voice as raspy as gravel. "What brings you here, child?" he asked, tilting his head with curiosity. "I seek my brothers, the 7 who were turned into ravens," she replied, her voice firm despite her weariness. The dwarf nodded knowingly. "The Lord Ravens are not here at present, but you may wait. Come." He led her deeper into the mountain, to a chamber where 7 small tables were set, with plates and glasses, all adorned with intricate carvings. The dwarf placed food and drink on each plate and into each glass. "These are their meals," he said, gesturing towards the spread. The maiden's stomach growled, a reminder of her own hunger. She hesitated, but eventually took a small morsel from each plate and a sip from each glass. From the last glass, she let her family ring slip into the liquid, a token of her presence and the bond she sought to rekindle. Time passed slowly, the quiet broken only by the occasional drip of water from the crystalline walls. Then came a sound, a faint, whirring that grew into a thunderous rush of wings. The air stirred, and the 7 ravens swept into the chamber, their black feathers gleaming like polished obsidian. The brothers approached the table, their sharp eyes darting to their plates and glasses. One by one, they noticed something amiss. "Who has touched my plate?" one raven demanded. "Who drank from my glass?" another cried, his voice edging with suspicion. "This was not done by a bird," declared a third. "It bears the mark of a human." When the 7th raven tilted his glass, the ring rolled against his beak. He stared at it for a moment, recognition dawning. "This is our parents' ring," he said softly, his voice trembling with hope. "If only our sister were here, she could break the curse." The maiden who had been watching from the shadows stepped into the light. Her presence stunned the ravens into silence. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then, as if by magic, their feathers dissolved, replaced by human forms. Her brothers stood before her, their faces etched with relief and gratitude. Tears flowed freely as the siblings embraced, their joy palpable. The curse that had separated them for so long was finally broken. Together they left the glass mountain, their bond stronger than ever. The journey home was filled with laughter and stories, as each sibling recounted their experiences. When they arrived at their parents' home, the reunion was nothing short of miraculous. The father, who had once spoken the curse in anger, wept openly, his heart filled with both sorrow and joy. Their mother, overjoyed to see her children restored, held them close, her tears soaking their shoulders. The maiden, though scared and weary, stood tall, her determination having brought her family together again. From that day forward, they lived as one, their love and unity a testament of the strength of family and the power of hope. Good night.